Awesome. Okay, the gang is all here. So my name is Stephane Leblois. I'm the Director of Partnerships for the Valuable 500. I work with Crosby, who's just on stage. As an audio description, I am a 30-plus-year-old white man with graying brown hair. I have brown shoes on, blue jeans, a gray blazer, a red tie that makes me look like a doofus, and a white shirt. I'm really excited to be talking about assistive technology for folks who are blind or visually impaired. This is, we've seen a ton of different examples of, we just saw a Google demo with a ton of different examples of things that Google is doing in this area. But we've also seen many speakers over the past 2 days come up with their own devices and share their own experiences. And so today we're going to be hearing a little bit more on that. But I would like to kick it over to Crystal, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us where you're coming from.
Thanks. My name is Crystal Asige. First of all, I've never been in a room that has so many varieties of the name Chris. So I've attempted to come on stage like 6 times in these last 2 days, but I'm finally here. Crystal Asige is my name. I'm from Kenya. After years of trying to understand my place in the world, my titles or what have you include a musician. I'm an independent musician, singer-songwriter. Professional media trained. I studied film and theater. I worked at the BBC and as well as other broadcasting corporations. I'm also really big. I'm a big advocate, activist even. And because of all my hooting and hollering over the years, Amnesty International Kenya invited me to be on their board, as well as I'm a founder of the Glaucoma Society of Kenya, and different organizations of disabled persons, support groups and such. I'm a YouTuber. I've got a channel where of course my music and my music videos live, as well as my vlog, which is called Blind Girl Manenos. Manenos is a Swahili word that means stuff. So like blind girl stuff. It's just like lots of nonsense that I do here and there. I throw it on YouTube, and I'm also a public speaker. And I consult on disability, diversity, and inclusion for different organizations. And I'm very, very glad to be here. Thank you, iNABLE, for inviting me.
And next up, he hardly needs an introduction, but it's going to be Julius.
Thank you. Julius here again. Julius Mura from iNABLE. Let me start with the audio description. I mentioned my hair is black. It's also curly on top. And black man, I'm wearing a black blazer, black khakis, and brown shoes. I have a bracelet of the Kenyan flag, and a watch that is mostly cosmetics because it's not tactile. Cosmetics like my eyes. So I am blind myself, and at iNABLE, I'm the advocacy officer and also head of assistive computer technology for the labs, and also doubles up as a legal officer. I am an advocate of disability rights in so many ways. I push boundaries that haven't been pushed before, and make sure that the world shifts the perception of people with disabilities without having to consider more on our limitations rather than considering our capabilities. So yeah, that's me. As we get to interact more, you'll know, I think, more of what I do and what I'm passionate about.
Thank you, Julius, which brings us to our third speaker, Prince.
Thank you. Presley Kesa is my name, from Cameroon. I'm a journalist, disability rights advocate, and I've worked with a couple of organizations in Cameroon, like the Coordinating Unit of Associations of Persons with Disabilities for the Southwest region. I'm coordinator of the Tam Tam Leadership Development Project, a project sponsored by the US Embassy in Cameroon, and is implemented by the Hope Social Union for the Visually Impaired. I'm president of the University of Boya Association of Persons with Disabilities, and founder and CEO of the Foundation for the Empowerment, or for the Inclusion and Empowerment of the Blind and Low Vision. That's me. I do a lot of digital journalism, and I'm quite glad to be on set this blessed afternoon.
So this is really interesting because all three of y'all are, practice some form of art in your profession, right? We have a musician, we have a filmmaker / daredevil, we have a journalist and a writer, but through it all, you're also disability advocates. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how you use assistive technology as a means to power both your craft as an artist, but also your disability advocacy. And if you can mention specific examples of either devices or apps that you find to be most helpful in your everyday life, and certainly as an artist, especially. We can go ahead and start with you, Crystal.
Okay, thanks. Well, I forgot to do my description. I'm African woman, and I have a natural Afro hair, which is henna red and bits of blonde in it, courtesy of a $1 dye kit. I am wearing a black dress and blue flats, and I'm really into African jewelry, so a lot of that's going on as well. And also with me, I've got my phone, my iPhone, and an earpiece. So the iPhone is the first thing that I use in everything I do. It's very mobile. It's, of course, easier than lugging around the MacBook, which is sitting somewhere in my house right now. So on my phone, I've got loads of apps that help me every day, not just with me, my day-to-day, but of course with my advocacy. I call it artivism. I'm really in love with the juncture between education and art and entertainment. So I call myself an artivist, and I, produce edutainment. So YouTube is the first place that I do that. I suppose when I put up any of my videos and stuff, it's on YouTube, and Google have talked about how you can make YouTube videos and so on accessible. My description box, I try to do the best I can there as well as training my team, the work that I work with as I'm independent, on how to, if you're posting something, do it this way, make sure you have these captions, make sure that you're describing, etc. I also use Scribe a lot when I do advocacy work. When I'm in meetings like this, I have the Scribe app, which I just put on, and it records everyone's conversation and transcribes that for me. Of course, the limitations there are accents, languages, and also today we're in a room with really good sound system. But when you're in informal settlements, like I will be on Saturday, it'll be just people talking from the corners of the space. So there are limitations with Scribe, but it's useful. I also use Cash Reader. Many a time I have been swindled out of my money, like someone else talked about today. Someone gives me less change, so on and so forth. So I was like, okay, you guys. Let me just do my homework. And I found Cash Reader. What else do I use for my... I don't use music apps. Even though I can edit and stuff because of my disability. Okay, I should actually say that I acquired my disability. That's my nuance here. I wasn't born with it, so I've been seeing for most of my life, and then gradually glaucoma has rendered me visually impaired. So there are lots of things that I used to do, which I still try my best to do on my own, but yeah, some of these apps are what I use. What else? Seeing AI I'm trying to just literally read what's on my phone. I've got Seeing AI. I've got my Safaricom, shout out. But there are also limitations with bank apps, by the way. I've got my bank app here for paying my team and paying any production costs and stuff. I've got, of course, the Spotifys, the Apples, the iTunes, the Audius Music. I've got Signal. I've got Hoover. Is it called Hoover or Hover, the conferencing app? That really helps. I have, Teams and Zoom as well. Yeah, for conferences. During COVID, it was really helpful to get my team on a Zoom call and just catch up.
Phenomenal, great. And Julius, how about you?
Thank you very much. So for me, I use apps in different activities that I undertake. starting with professionally, of course, the email, I have synchronized my phone to be in line with my laptop, so I don't have to carry a big backpack. And I use the Teams app, of course, the Zoom, and also the Google Meet. So I have those. Professionally, I also use the iPhone quite a lot when I'm taking down, notes. I do motivational talks and mentorship. So I need to. I have a structure where all my mentees, I have demarcated a profile for each one of them, so that I don't go confusing who's Joe and Joyce, and that helps me a lot when I'm interacting with them in person. So, and also taking notes, of course, the Word document, that is very accessible for me. I also have another app, I've forgotten the name, I think it's a third-party app that helps me to transcribe, to sort of convert a PDF, inaccessible PDF into Microsoft Word. That is very helpful. If I remember, I'll tell you the name. And then on the creative side, so I am a car reviewer. I have a YouTube channel. I also do a lot of social media, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and Facebook. So I have the apps. I post myself, actually. Sometimes I can post, and I'm posting the wall saying, this is Julius, and he looks good in this suit, but it's the wrong photo. So for the car reviews, I normally just go into accessible websites to look for the features for the cars. Of course, I know so much about cars, but you can't know all the models that are coming out. Like Crystal, I acquired my disability. I have lost my eyesight twice. Dang it. The first time I was 10 years, the second time was 2019, but life continues. So out of car reviews, I also do spoken word poetry. So to do that, I go on my notes app on the iPhone, type it out, and it's easy because I can just remove the sentence or line I don't want. It is also very interactive because I can go line by line, bar by bar. So that helps me a lot. I also use the likes of Sing AI. I have Sing AI. I have Be My Eyes. I have TapTapC. I also have Cash Reader, but the other day they told me to pay for it. So I kind of moved to Sing AI. And I also trust my instincts of touching money. I think that is a part-time job for me. So same thing, I think I have a lot, but I think those are the main ones that I use. But also I try look for apps to help me navigate. I move a lot in the Nairobi CBD, Central Business District. I move from street to street without using a guide. So I'm that crazy blind guy who will bump into you, and when you say, are you blind? I'll say, yeah, I am. Yeah. So that's me, and I think, yeah, those are the apps that, my M-Pesa app also. I prefer using M-Pesa a lot nowadays compared to carrying cash, because then I have to be identifying the notes from my pocket before I give you. I can just give you the notes. Yeah, so I think those are the apps, and then.
So
Yeah.
I mean that's great insight, and what I will say though is since we have a limited time for the next, I'm going to ask Presley the same question. Then for our next question, we'll try to keep our responses to about a minute each, if that's okay. So Presley, do you want to go next?
Thank you very much. When I enrolled in the university to study journalism and mass communication in 2016, and a lecturer made a funny utterance that I should quit journalism because it wasn't for my kind, and that since the creation of the institution about 26 years ago at the time, That was in 1993 to be specific, and then 2016 when I enrolled, that they had never had a blind student, and that he was not sure they were going to accommodate me. I could not understand this statement until when I got to a certain level where I needed assistive technology. And thank God I got quite a number of them, because since 2016 to date, 6 years in the university, I've never seen one Braille book. I've not had any audio recordings that could enable us access the library. But I've had other assistive devices and apps. I use Voice Allow Reader. I use apps like TalkBack. I use Caller Name Talker. I use quite a number of apps. I will not repeat most of them, which Julius has mentioned. They work a lot for all of us. And as a digital content creator, a journalist, I run a website, TWIF News, as in TWIF, TWIF. TWIF, TWIF News. That's www.twifnews.org, where I do quite a lot of advocacy for persons with disabilities in my country. I have a Facebook page, TWIF News, of over 10,000 followers. I do use Twitter. I use WhatsApp. I have more than 1,000 contacts. As a journalist, you need to keep contacts, useful ones, of course. And I think that these assistive devices are very crucial if we must triumph, and if we must overcome barriers in this 21st century. And I think a meeting like this gives us an opportunity to exchange with one another and to be sure what other devices we have got. I think the display from Google is testament to the fact that we are on good footing, and I'm sure that we are going to be on the right path soon, especially when we learn all these new technological devices that are being produced day in, day out. Thank you.
And so, Presley, you actually set up the next question perfectly, because I think what I heard you say is, access to assistive technologies, especially while you were at university, was not a given, and that it was kind of, you experienced some degree of barriers to access. And so my question to y'all is, with the emergence of the Kenyan Accessibility Act, and with more opportunities that are popping up here and there, what do you see as far as access to assistive technology? What do you see as the next exciting opportunity? And that could be sources of funding, that could be different emerging assistive technologies that are coming out, or that could be legislation like the act that was passed. What do you think? What do you see as most exciting or a great opportunity in the future? So we can start again with Crystal.
Okay, I think for me, what's really exciting, let me start with, there is now a standard that was launched yesterday. I really feel like we need to move from the standard. The next step is to move from the standard and have it passed in as legislation. Because a standard, I think someone this morning, Klaus, I think if I remember his name correctly, was talking about standard is a standard. We can have them all day, but it's up to the person to use them or not. And they usually choose not to. So we need to actually put them into legislation for them to make any kind of tangible, long-lasting difference. But from what I've heard the last 2 days, I think that it's exciting. What's most exciting is inclusive finance. Banks, I have so many ideas, and I keep going into my bank, trying to give my feedback, but no one ever listens. But I have really good ideas for what you could do, things that are happening outside of Kenya. I was able to live in the UK, so I've seen some really quick wins, easy, low-hanging fruits that could be implemented from tomorrow. I also see an exciting opportunity to have virtual tours. As a visually impaired person, the first time I touched an elephant was when I was an adult. And only because I was visually impaired, someone saw me at the elephant farm here in Nairobi and said, "You want to come and touch this elephant?" And it was a baby elephant. So things that I would not be able to do now without my sight, I think can be translated into virtual versions of that. For example, virtual concerts or virtual tours of exhibitions, somebody just popping their phone in front of them and having subscribers on their whatever platform and saying, hey, this is a piece of art by Julius, so on and so forth. This is what it says at the bottom, things like that, so that people who can't go and experience arts, culture, sports, recreation, I think for me is a big one. Also, trying to create things like multi-purpose centers where I can go rock climbing as a visually impaired person, like I've seen happening in the States and stuff like that. I also think if anyone over here, YouTube as well. I really love podcasts. I'm very auditory, so YouTube, aka Google. It would be great at the bottom of a video to have like a text box where I can write my notes right there on the app instead of moving back and forth from apps. If I hear some really good idea or a name of a book or a name of a person speaking, I want to write it right then and there. If that's possible, that would be so fantastic. It's really disorientating going back and forth. Or if anyone knows the New York Times, Wordle, I love Wordle, yo. It's like it's an addiction. But anyway, that's my last thing. If Wordle can have a way that I know what colors are green and yellow and gray on my own instead of saying, hey, this morning I asked my taxi driver, this first word, what's gray, green, and yellow? He was just like, Madam, I'm driving. And I was like, this is important, it's Wordle. So if there is a way to have auditory prompts for colors as well, for games and things like Wordle, Undercover, I'm really into that as well, because I feel left out in that respect. Thank you.
Julius, how about you?
Yeah, thank you. I'll just give a quick wish list I have. I think first one, we are getting to a point where people with disabilities should experience the independence that they deserve. And I'm saying this in the prospect of we are in a world that technology drives everything, and I mean that literally. And if we can have assistive technology embedded into the emergence of the new technologies that are coming out, like virtual reality, like I want to close down a highway and drive a Lamborghini, if that's possible, and enjoy the ride. Yeah, without having to go to a field or a controlled area or a new road that I know. I think I'm used to that. So if I can really, we can really leverage the power of radar and sonar and the new virtual reality, augmented reality that we are coming out with, to actually make sure that someone who has a disability, for example, I'll just give an example with someone who's blind. I move a lot by myself, so if we can have technologies that allow us to walk with our hands in our pockets, like without having to grapple with a white cane all the time. So I mean, we need to get to a point where we are so much self-reliant that it's part of who we are, without making people mesmerized every time we are doing something. The other day I was giving someone a recipe of pancakes and he was like, how did you come up with this? I was like, but I eat them though. So, so yeah, it's that point of independence and taking advantage of what we have to make sure that everything is inclusive from the get-go, so that we are not talking about adapting at the end of the tunnel. We are talking about moving with it. And I'm this person who is very practical about things. You'll tell me about go-karting, and next weekend I'm making plans to go there. So yeah, so let's move to a point where we are actually being involved even in the smallest things that people don't really think people with disabilities would enjoy being involved in.
Thank you, Julius. And last but not least, Presley.
Thank you once more. I think that Kenya is setting the standards for a lot of us to follow. And I want to say that the advancement in technology is testament to the fact that persons with, in fact, blind users now have the opportunity to also invest in the domain of science. Back in the years when we were growing up, a lot of us wanted to do the sciences, but we had not had the means to do algebra it means to do, some mathematical equations. And I feel that it is now that moment. The younger generation now needs to exploit these opportunities and ensure that they follow their dreams. It's no longer that age where, as a blind student, before you get maybe to high school, you know that, okay, there are already particular, areas that either you are into those areas or you return home. And I think I'm so happy. Truth be told, my country is a bit backward when it comes to this. I was marveled when I got to the Tika High School, and I found the students using, Perkins umbrellas to take down their notes. Even in the university, I'm not sure I ever had the opportunity to do that. The last time I touched a Perkins umbrella was in 2006, and it was my teacher's honor that I had the opportunity to be taught how to use it. I don't remember ever placing hands on it thereafter. So I believe that this is really an opportunity for us, for me in particular from Cameroon, to leverage and to come out with, to develop projects which will be able to teach this young generation of Africans to have the requisite skills to be able to move their communities, to be game changers, and in so doing, Africa can then comfortably talk about emergence, because I was only seeing that to be a fantasy, because nothing realistically was being done to have persons with disabilities move that drive to emergence. But if technology can help us accompany our different governments to make that dream happen, and then I will crave the indulgence of all persons with disabilities, whether visual or whatever form of disability they are living with, not to still ask what their countries have done for them, but to, like President Kennedy of the US, ask themselves what they are able to do for their countries. Thank you very much.
Pretty epic, epic ending. Thank you to the panelists. A wonderful, wonderful discussion. Thank you.